Hey guys, so this is just a little explanation on maybe some trickier parts in the pattern. Okay, I'm going to start with the fin here. So this is one of the fins, just finishing, this is the big fin, so there's 6 rounds. And so after that, you're just going to fold it in half. Make sure that the tail is tucked in. Okay, so it's in half here. And what you're gonna do is put your hook through this first set of stitches and then through this other on the other side, and then just pull through, and then you're just going to have single crochets all along. So you put it through there and just keep single crocheting all the way to create that border. Okay, finishing up with the last one here. Okay, so now you have your fin that you just made the border along. Okay, gonna pull the tail through. Okay, so now you have a fin. Okay, so now repeating that process with these small fins here. So again, you finish, the border side is up here, but the tail is going this way. But with this one that I just made, I'm gonna pull the thread through, and you can see that being symmetrical with the border side up, the tail is going this way. So we need to thread it through to the bottom here. So just going to secure it first, and then I'm just going to push it through to the other side. And again, you want to make sure that you're not pulling too tight so that it bunches up here. Gonna make sure that it is keeping its natural shape, and then you're gonna secure it on this side here. Maybe secure it again, just trying to make sure that it won't change shapes. Okay, so now you have your 2 fins, and the border sides are up, they're symmetrical, and the tails are coming out here. Okay, so now with the shell, doing the stitches and increases like normal, you have your shell here, and then I did the front loop only all the way around, and I have the back loop stitch that I marked from that previous row. So now I'm just going to take my pink thread and I'm going to secure it. Okay, so now I have my pink thread here connected, and I'm just going to do the 42 stitches all the way around. And then remember, you're doing it in each of these back loop stitches here. All right, and so just do it. And then I like to secure this pink thread while I'm at it. So I just do my normal single crochets, but with it joined here. So again, you have everything in your back loop stitches here. So you're just going to keep going around each of these stitches all the way across. Okay, so now I have 42 stitches all the way across in that bottom loop only. And so now I'm going to start with round 15 of the shell, and that just starts by securing this border here. I'm going to place a stitch marker as that's the beginning of that row. So you do 1 single crochet, and then you're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. and then you're going to skip 5 stitches. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to skip those 5 and single crochet into that 6th stitch, so you have this gap here. So you have 5 chains and you skipped 5 stitches, and we already put one of those single crochets in, so we're just going to do 3 more. So we'll have 4 single crochets total. 2, 3. Okay, so now we have 4 single crochets, and now we're going to chain 3, 2, 3, and we're going to skip 3 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to single crochet 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we have 6 stitches. Now we're going to chain 3 more times. 1, 2, 3, and now we're going to skip 3 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, skipping that. We're going to chain 5 or single crochet 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and we're going to chain 3 again. 1, 2, 3, skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to single crochet 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and single crochet 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. And now we are back at the beginning where we started. So this is where your placement is going to be for the head, and then the 2 big fins, and then the 2 small fins back here. I have more pictures on that for guidance in the pattern as well. 16 here. So we need to do 5 single crochets and then a decrease. So I'm just going to do the first stitch here like normal and mark it with my stitch marker. Okay, and then the way I like to do this is I like to go through each individual chain. So 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have my 5 stitches here, and then I'm just going to do an invisible decrease, taking the first loops of the 2 next stitches and then joining them together here. So that's how I like to do mine. There are other methods, but I just find this is a little bit easier to count the stitches. So then I'm just going to repeat that process. So 1, 2, and then again just trying to find the first loops of these chains here. It can be a little bit tricky sometimes. Okay, 3, 4, 5, and then decreasing here. Again, it can be a little bit tricky for me to find the loops. It just takes a little bit of time. Okay, and then decrease. All right, and then the same thing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then decreasing here. So grabbing those first 2 loops on that chain. Okay, and then you're just going to repeat that process all the way around. Okay, so now we have the shell complete here, and we just have the head, the 2 big fins, and then the 2 small fins. We have their openings here. So for the head, I have it right here. We're just going to attach it to this section here. So just kind of lining it up here. This side is going to go right in here. Okay, and then just going to keep working. Now, just noting here that you did those these openings here mostly to help with placement, and then for me it also helps to get a more seamless finish when I'm sewing here. But if you have issues with the head drooping a bit too much, then I'm going to show you what you can do to help fix that after I am done sewing the rest of this head on. Okay, so you have your head attached here now, but if you have problems with it wobbling a little bit too much, or a lot of times it can just be too heavy and it'll go like this, so what you can do is just go a little bit farther back here. So I would just go and then take the strand from the head, and then you're just going to keep sewing, and you're going to try to make it as uniform as possible. But you can just do as I'm doing here and just going more into the shell and then grabbing stitches that are farther up on the head, and then it'll just give it a little bit more stability. So you just do that all the way around here. Okay, now I have the head attached here, and it isn't wobbly, it isn't drooping, because I was just attaching it a little bit closer to the body. So now we just have the fins, and it's going to be a similar approach here. So remember, the fins, you want the border side to be facing up this way. So here I'm just kind of sewing along. There isn't any like sure way to do this, because you have this opening here, but you don't have the same amount of stitches. So it's just kind of whatever feels right to you on how you want to sew it on. Okay, and then just moving to the other side here. So I have it sewn on here, but again, if you find that it's a little bit too droopy, maybe it falls down a little bit too much, what you can do is just go a little bit farther into the shell, and then grab those pieces of the fin and then just sew it. Like so, and then you do the same thing on this side. So you would just grab a little bit more here, and then sew it just a little bit closer. And I like to reinforce the corners of the fin a little bit more. So I'm going to make sure that this side here is super secure and it's not drooping. Okay, that's about how I like it. I like it to have a little bit of movement, but again, if you want it stiffer, then definitely feel free to sew it a little bit tighter on. So just do that for the rest of the fins. Okay, so now we're going to do the seeds. So right now I'm just getting a long piece of white thread. It could be yellow, whichever color you want. I have a little bit of fuzzies that aren't touching here, but so how I like to start it is I'll just push my thread through anywhere, but I'm going to bring it to the bottom of this shell. Okay, and then I'm just going to move it one row up here, and then move my needle over to the side where I'm going to place my next seed. And I have a very long thread here, so it can get kind of tangled. Okay, so that's the first seed. And then I'm just going to repeat that process all the way around the turtle. If you have any issues with stuffing coming out during this process, then I would recommend doing it before you stuff. I have that noted in the pattern, so yeah, just know if you have already had that issue, or you're planning on making a second one, or if you see that note beforehand and you want to come to this section to see the seeds. So yeah, I would recommend if you have a stuffing that may come out while you're threading these seeds in, then do that before you finish off the shell with your decreases here. Okay, so I'm almost all the way around. Just gonna do one last one here. Okay, so now what I do is I like to kind of do a brick pattern where they're staggered. So I'm gonna try to find a middle point in between these two seeds that I've already placed, and just do the same process. And I'm just going to keep going around. Yep, and just keep going around the turtle, and you're just going to do this stagger, or at least I like to do it, this little stagger brick kind of layout with these seeds. And just yeah, just keep moving up and around the turtle. So you're just going to keep going around until you get to the top. Okay, so we have our seated turtle here finished, and then to make these ruffle leaves, I'm just going to put my hook in at any of these front loop posts from the shell, and then I'm just going to do a single crochet in this stitch. Okay, and now I'm going to do a half double crochet, double crochet, half double crochet, and then a single crochet. And that is all going into one stitch. I'm going to slip stitch in the next one, and then I'm going to repeat that process. So I'm going to do a single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet, half double crochet, single crochet, and then just slip stitch in the next. Okay, and then just keep repeating that, and you're just going to keep going all the way around until you have your ruffle leaves all around the base of your turtle. So just showing you one more here. Okay, I got that ruffle here, and then just slip stitch. Okay, and you're just going to repeat that all the way around, and then you will be done with your ruffle leaf turtle.